but trees, alternative virtual reality.
Okay, so I'm in this custom-made virtual world with Sarah Hashkes, and Sarah is
Hello.
the CEO. Hi, Sarah, of Radix Motion. And yeah, I first stumbled over you on Facebook, Sarah. I was just browsing through some Facebook groups, and I saw this super interesting title for a presentation that had something to do with psychedelics and neuroscience and virtual reality, and that was sort of three words or terms that really triggered my interest. I watched your presentation, and it was super interesting. So I thought it would be nice to just have a talk, because this is sort of some of the themes that we are super interested in at this podcast and the YouTube channel, which this is hosted on. So yeah, and now we're in your virtual world. So could you give us a... Yeah,
Tor, let's start with the talk. So we made this world so people that are in VR can learn more about what VR does to their brains. There's a video, which you can also watch on YouTube afterwards, that explains everything, but we wanted to make this interactive. So here we have some neurons, and you can see there's a bunch of dendrites, and every neuron has an axon, right, that shoots little chemical signals if we actually activate it. Wait,
nice.
Why is my use button not working? I don't know. Can you try? Maybe your use button is working.
It's firing here.
Issues. Oh, it's firing. Yay! Great. So and we can actually do this together.
Nice.
This is meant to be a joint vocation. Every one of them fires like a different color, so we can create sparks, activate our brains together. And this is sort of just a fun art experience to show how chemical signals pass in our brain by activating the dendrites and then shooting out from the axon. A lot of the work that I do is always in this framework that's called predictive coding. It's a neuroscience framework that looks at the brain as a prediction machine. That combines two sources of information that's coming from our senses right now, and information that your brain has already stored, that's called biases or priors. Different papers call it different names. And what we can start doing with VR is really changing the relationship between these two sources of information. Like right now, I'm giving you a neuron that you're not really used to seeing in real life. So that's creating a type of prediction error in your brain that you then need to actually remodel beliefs in your brain, and it increases your plasticity. And that's pretty similar to what happens on psychedelics. So that's sort of the connection. And let's go over to the giant earth balls.
Yeah.
Follow me. Right. So this is another really magical thing we can do in VR, is just like play with scale.
Yeah.
Which is something that you can't usually do in real life. It's like just, I now have control of a giant earth ball. I can just roll it around like a bowling ball, right?
Yeah.
Now they're all rolling around. Or the opposite, actually lifting. Wait, let me see if I can get down into the ground. Here we go. Lift like a tiny earth and just feel like super powerful, holding the earth in the palm of my hands. So this is another type of bias we can start actually changing in VR very easily by just playing with size. We can make ourselves huge, small, and it really affects our whole psychology and the way we even communicate with each other. So that was another thing I wanted to show.
When you're saying bias, do you mean then just our general sedimented relationship with the world and how it works? Or how do you sort of define this?
Yeah. So our biases are basically based on our early age experiences.
Yeah.
And that's the incoming information that we get from our environment, from our parental figures, from our social, the social environment we're embedded in, and all that. There's a hyperplasticity when you're a baby. At very specific ages of your development, specific neurons become hyperplastic and hyper tuned into the environment, and then actually prune. So the connections between those neurons after that stage are cut down.
Yeah.
And that is really a hard thing to change later on in life. They show this in language acquisition, for instance. If you have not been exposed to a native language by the time, I think it was 9 months, something around that age, like very young, you will never actually be a native speaker. You might speak very well, but your brain will still, the sounds, the way it relates to these types of phonetics will not be the same as a native speaker. Yeah, let's go. I actually don't remember. I haven't been here in a while. We made this world maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't remember what this was about. I'm actually curious. What did we do here? Oh, yeah. Let's connect. Oh, yeah. So this is, let's see. So the idea was for us to be able to build something together here with these blocks. So.
Oh, there's some
just
patterns
to create,
here.
Yeah, so much of like VR games are around violence and shooting, and I'm a martial artist. I've come from Israel. I've had my share of violence, and it can be constructive in some ways, and release a lot of things inside of you in a healthy way. But a lot of what we're trying to do in Radix Motion is create pro-social gaming and pro-social actions.
Yeah.
Because, if we want to change the world and have sort of less violence in it and more understanding and empathy, the way to go about it is to just collaborate more, practice these collaboration skills. So this, I didn't even remember that this had trails. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
So just using like visualization tools, dance, creativity, to make things together is really what we're trying to make with Radix Motion. Yeah, it is pretty. So this world has its VR chat has quite a few limits when they let you build things. That's why we're building our own platform that's actually called Miu.
Yeah.
It doesn't have voice in it because it's all about body language. So if people want to check that out, I highly recommend. It's free. It's on all the platforms. And we can talk about that more later.
Yeah,
how about we go check what we look like in a mirror?
Hey, good.
Because identity
I can't even remember
I
can't even remember what avatar.
Like.
Oh no, I see it. I see it when I'm walking. Yeah, I went for some sort of cyberpunk dude. I'm stoked with the game coming out now. So.
Right, so this is a VR mirror, but look down. We put a mirror on the bottom and a mirror on the top and the sides. So we're actually letting you fully embody yourself. Yeah, exactly. To get different body perceptions. And this is really one of the strongest things that VR causes is this first person effect. Right? It can really change your sense of self because we're getting statistically correlated data. The way when I actually feel my body moving is what I'm seeing, even if the hands are not the size of my hands exactly. So I'm getting a tiny bit of a prediction error there about like, oh, my hands are actually smaller than these hands. And these are things that we need to do a lot more research about, because long term, what happens when you get these conflicting signals, right, inside of your brain? Because research that I did in university really showed that this is super powerful. Your brain really believes the visual signals and actually starts shutting down the proprioception signals, the signals that are coming from your body.
Yeah.
And this is why VR can help treating things like anorexia and body dysmorphia. But if it can help, it's quite likely that it can also do damage if we're not careful. So we have a recommendation here that what we recommend people is don't get too attached to your avatars. Keep changing them. If you spend a really long time in one avatar, it might actually start reprogramming your sense of self and what you believe you are. This is an avatar a team member of mine made. We were sort of making fun because this is a motion capture body, right?
Yeah,
so we're in VR
yeah.
in a body that's doing motion capture.
Yeah.
And we added a trail to allow us to extend our communication skills. I don't know how many times it's happened to you when your mic isn't working in
Right.
VR chat.
Right.
So now even if my mic isn't working, I can like try to make like smiley faces or something.
Yeah, that's very
In terms of,
practical.
like, writing, I can try to write in like upside down language.
But I like what you're
That
saying
works.
with don't get too attached to your avatar, because I think there is really sort of a danger there. Of course, there is empowerment in being able to redefine yourself and display yourself as you wish, but
Yeah.
an avatar could also be said to be empty, and as with anything, your own body included. I mean, you mentioned anorexia, and we have the potential as human beings of being, having issues with the way we represent ourselves.
Of course. Again, and this is exactly what happens when biases don't actually agree with the information that's coming in your body.
Yeah.
And so many, especially women bodies are under such scrutiny from society to always look cute and sexy and small and petite and not assuming. And so many of the actual VR platforms out there encourage this in many ways. One of the reasons I do love VR chat is because it gives you a lot of freedom. A lot of the Facebook systems are always basically forcing you to be a cute Disney version of yourself.
Right.
And what I really like about VR chat is the possibilities. There are a lot of anime girls out there.
Right, yes.
But can I show you actually my favorite
At least
avatar?
you get the
I'm gonna
choice,
switch
but yeah.
for a second. Yeah, my favorite avatar is, let's change into this. Ta-da! I love this. When I saw this the first time in VR chat, I was like, I can even be an object. I can just go into a room and just stand and just listen. I don't even have hands. I do can like slide.
You just go into the corner of the room and just stay there.
And just stay there. No one even knows. But there's something very real about this, like, objectify yourself to an actual object.
Wow.
And I think it's a very playful way to explore these things. And what is it like to actually, I don't have hands. I just lost a whole level of agency. But in some ways gained some freedom,
Yeah.
So that's what we were sort of trying to show with this,
but I like that with VR chat, that it
experience.
definitely is full creative freedom, and I think it's telling sort of who we are and who people want to be when we get to see, I mean, how do people choose to represent themselves when they actually, in real life, there is some constraints.
Mm-hmm. There's, of course, many, many constraints.
Yeah.
The favorite room in VR chat, there's like a avatar testing room where people that actually create their own avatars go and test them out. And that's where I've seen the most creative and crazy and things. I've seen a person that was actually many people walking around as like an army.
That's fascinating.
And that's amazing. Just imagine extending your sense of self to like multiple creatures.
Right.
I'm gonna go back to having hands so I can be more expressive.
Yeah.
And
we are flexible in that regard as well. I mean, I haven't really tried all those embodiment experiences, sort of, referred to in like research literature as the lanyard term, homuncular flexibility, but adapting to more limbs and so on. That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, and now we're playing with size, right?
Right, yeah.
Tiny little wolf. I feel
and
really
a lot
cute,
of these,
and you feel intimidating.
Yeah. A lot of these anime girls as well are like that kind of size. They're like smaller than children, but yet it's weird when they walk around your feet in VR.
Or stand on you. Yeah, And it's interesting. Like I feel people want to explore again things that we can't really do in real life. And you know, as long as there's a consent and it's coming from a place of exploration,
Yeah.
I think that's great. And as long as there's options, because you can be a cute, sexy anime girl, regardless of what your body is in real
Right,
life.
yeah.
But you can also be this.
Yes.
You can also be a trash can. You can also be, you know, anything you really want. And I think for what I want of VR in the future is that type of freedom. I don't want to be forced into looking like a cute Disney version of myself. I think that's disastrous.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what we're trying to build with Miu avatar system too. We're making it very flexible. We're making it physics based. So you actually can induce like noise and physics in your body that reacts to your body movement. So that's also has been a really fun thing.
Yeah, I like how you actually, I mean, don't have you don't have voice.
We don't have voice. Yeah, that was
I like that.
a choice.
Yes, because it's like a deliberate constraint that is sort of forcing other modes of expression, and that is genius. Yeah, because there is so much possible to express. I mean, you are constantly doing this, so you're a perfect example right now.
I'm like finally out of my chair, so I can move. But this is you know, one of the biggest problems in technology is that the interface until recently has only been with our fingers.
Yes.
Right. So our brains have actually adapted to have finger thinking.
Yeah.
Right. We type the finger and verbal thinking has been sort of extended and expanded on over the last few generations. And for a lot of us, we're losing the rest of our body.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. We are fully embodied creatures with a spine and a tail. Right. And this is in order to have an actual healthy life and a full type agent, you don't want to be repressing these parts of you, both from health perspective, you know, all these backaches everybody's getting, and but also from a type of connectivity that we have as humans. I do a lot of contact improv dance, and you feel such a deep connection being able to predict another person's movements. This is really the basics of empathy is joint action. Can we move together? As simple as that. Once we have that, then I can start building a model of what you are, how you interact with the world, and start feeling more empathy towards you.
Yeah.
That's the basics.
Yeah, and I think it's also something that we're losing in like even in the Skype thing, because it's although it is. Or the Zoom, although it actually shows a body, you are restricted to sitting in the chair. I mean, I'm sitting in the chair right now, but at least the potential conceptually and theoretically, I should. And
it's the chairs. If there's one thing I would change about the history of humanity, I would get rid of chairs.
Yeah, I might have to take up on this. I'll just have to fix my mic, but
you reset the size.
Let's see, standing play. Yeah.
Let's do it. It's worth it.
Yeah, I think so. This is getting a bit wrong.
Oh, you're starting to float.
Oh, I'm getting holy now.
Yeah, it's magical.
Okay, that's weird though. Let's just check right quickly if I can.
Okay. Then you can go explore new avatars. Oh yeah, this one I like too. There's a lot of these like.
I had this emo kid back in. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. That's really cool. I like those colors.
These are my cute. Yeah. I like things that verge on like human, but mysterious or super powered or all my comic book reading. I'm a very big comic book fan.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, so now the people who are watching this can actually see the menu of those avatars as well. Okay, so there's the you mentioned the trash can. Lucas Risotto was on the podcast and he chose to be that.
I can imagine.
This is the one I like. I used to be like an emo kid before, so... No, wait, didn't it change?
You didn't change. Not yet. You're still you.
Let's see.
Okay.
So,
But I lost my superpower of drawing.
I've seen that you've gotten some investors for your company now.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, we're collaborating with a very awesome company that's called Red Light Holland. They are producing microdosing kits in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
And we are going to make a VR experience for them that's a bit similar to the experience that we made about This Is Your Brain on VR, but we're going to explain what microdosing does to the brain so that people can actually be more informed. You know, there's so much, again, a negative bias around psychedelics, and B, just like lack of knowledge, misinformation. So we're going to be putting out there the latest scientific research in an interactive way, similar to what we're doing in this world, where you can actually hold a psilocybin molecule in your hand and see how it plugs into the neuron's receptor, and get more details about what that does to your brain. So I'm very excited. We're building that out, and it will also have a part of the Miu experience in there where you can dance as a magic truffle.
That's nice.
Yes. Yeah. So we're also being very playful about this. You know, one of the main things I think we lose as we grow up is the playfulness.
Yeah.
Things become heavy and too serious. And there's, I mean, I'm sure you know the statistics around depression and mental health. They're not very pretty. So anything we can do to improve that is a big win.
Yeah, and this is of course related to what you were saying earlier with like plasticity and the way we have biases and sedimented relationships to the world, which of course psychedelics is one of the few things that can really rupture this. I mean, the relationship we have, and let's say, oh wait, I thought this was the way reality was, which was sort of given to us as some sort of truth.
Yeah.
And VR can probably, I mean, you know more of this, at least from the theoretical or science perspective than me, but are you interested in combining psychedelics with VR, or more taking inspiration from psychedelics in VR design?
So I think there's a lot more research that needs to be done before I would feel safe putting out an experience that I'm saying this is good to use on psychedelics. You know,
yes,
I think people know themselves well, and they know what they can explore as if they do explore psychedelics on their own. And definitely I have been in VR on psychedelics. I've created environments in VR while being on psychedelics. It definitely resonates for me very, very well together. And also you need to be very careful because your biases really are being lowered when you're in psychedelics. It really breaks down the biases of your brain. So whatever I'm putting into my perceptual system now has a much stronger effect. So I don't know if I'd come into an environment like VR chat. I don't know if I'd put myself into another embodiment experience, because that might have very, very strong effects. But I have tried some of Kabibo's experiences. Do you know Kabibo?
No, I don't think so.
Seen any of his stuff? Oh, wow. Okay. You should definitely Google Kabibo after this.
Yes, please.
I think his VR experiences are the most physical based. He's a physics simulator artist that creates both in VR and web. And he helped us build the first version of Miu. And some of his experiences, he has an experience of a blanket fort.
That's nice.
You have like a physics simulator of a blanket, and you can just build like a tent inside that blanket. I was in that on psychedelics. It was the most comforting thing you could ever experience. Just like this blanket all over you, like shiny and glittery. But then I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but there is a little bit of an ending to this experience that was a bit like, oh my what did I just do to my brain?
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I need to try that out.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, so there are a lot of really interesting things out there. I also love Lucas's work, Where Thoughts Go.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also very visually and like touching emotionally. If you land, there's mixed results. It's a bit about what answer you get when you're choosing. What people talked about. A lot of people ramble about things that are just like, I don't understand. Yeah.
It's nice about those experiences that are trying to, show something more, right? Often you find them in those pieces that are more art focused and whatever, but just using it for something else then, there's nothing wrong with Beat Saber, but it's very interesting to use this medium for something that is really trying to open up to emotion and experience in another way.
Yeah. I personally don't like rhythm games. For me, it feels too constricting. Oh, they're telling me when to do what, right? It's very like, and I'm like, no, I want to go like this now. Stop telling me what to do. But this is my issues about like control and freedom. I grew up in a very religious, controlling environment, so there's still, negative biases around that. But Beat Saber has done a lot of, it's actually gotten people to be physically active, which I am a very big supporter of that.
Yeah, it's fascinating seeing people making those posts, sort of gamers that have just been sitting for years, and then being in activity doesn't necessarily have to feel bad. Wow.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're trying to do with Mew, but more for people like me that don't like constrictions and don't like the whole winning, losing points, that just want to dance and play with each other. So we're building in these games inside of Mew. You can play a follow me game. I will do just like a movement for you and send this message to you, and you need to follow my movement.
Okay, yeah.
And you can get feedback of my movements. Do you want to try? We can do it like here.
Yeah.
The embodied experiment. I was like, I have this image of trying to practice martial arts with my brother in VR. I even sent him a headset. But you can see there's also a lot of like very interesting VR dance groups that are forming. Have you been aware of them? We're trying to join some of them.
I have not. Just give me 2 seconds.
They use multiple trackers.
Yeah, but then it probably can work, right?
Yeah, so they can get more of their feet in there, and I'm not sure. I want to connect to them. I'm not sure how much of it they're doing live versus how much they're creating pre-recorded animations and then controlling that in VR. Yeah. Because you can put pre-recorded animations on your avatar that will do whatever you tell it to do.
I'm sort of noticing now when we have it in the mirrors that my feet are not tracked. Yeah. Usually you're not noticing your feet, but it's definitely noticeable.
Yeah. It's doing not a very bad thing when I like move in space. It's guessing it quite nice.
But when I'm leaning.
The inverse kinematics. Yeah, when you're leaning, when you pick up your leg, they're just like, wait, leg, you're not moving. Yeah, so there's, you can try, do you want to dance with me?
Yeah, for sure.
Where are you? Okay, here we go. And now you can like, so this is where like I would like, in Mew, when you actually touch the avatar, you get like a haptic feedback. Because I don't really, like, I'm just going through you now.
Yeah.
So we try to trick people's brains by giving them a little vibration.
That's good.
That makes them feel where the other person is and have like a sensation that they can follow when they're dancing.
Yeah.
So that's one game. Another game we have is blowing and catching kisses.
That's nice.
If I go like this, kisses will come out and fly in space, and you can run around and try to catch the kisses. So these are the type of like mini pro-social movement games that also help you connect to your friends that we're really trying to build.
Yeah.
A very cool thing we can do, we've been experimenting with, is actually going into your friend's body.
Oh,
Try to actually do it now. Wait, maybe you don't move for a second. Is it
Yeah.
okay if I attempt to embody you?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna be going into your body. And like,
I can go lower
so
too.
we just merged. Oh yeah, great. Oh wow, this is creepy. I'm sure users are like, people that are watching this are like, what the hell, right? So in Mew, we can do this with like pre-recorded movements. So for instance, we had a professional juggler juggle in VR. And then I went into their body, and I've been trying to juggle for many years, and it actually really helped me because I could get the rhythm of the juggle. I could, I for the first time, I had this insight that juggling it's not about throwing from the hands. It was like throwing from the chest, because the way I was moving my hands to move the same way that this juggler was actually activating my chest muscles and not like the throwing of my hands. Yeah. So that was a big insight. And there was a lot of part of my research in academia. Can we actually teach movements better with this type of feedback?
Oh, that's really fascinating.
Could I? Yeah, my dream is like to embody, my martial arts teacher and just ta-da, get the matrix, download the matrix, but from a way that actually works. Like, right, how, so it turns out it's not as simple. You actually need to get feedback of your own body. That's what I was talking to you about at the beginning. Because if I put you in a body that's doing these movements, but you don't get the feedback, you're going to be thinking that you are doing these movements correctly, but actually you'll be doing them even worse because you're not going to be getting the proprioception sensation from your body. Yeah. It's going to be muted because you're getting two conflicting signals in your brain, and now your brain needs to decide, what do we believe? And at least for most people, based on my limited academic research, they believe their eyes. The eyes, the graphics computer of our brain is the visual system. It's super, super strong. It really, really affects the rest of our system more than many of the other senses for most of us. This might be different for different people. So actually it's really important to give feedback, and that's why in Mew we do have the haptic feedback too. Yeah. So while I'm in this person's body, only when I'm touching them do I get the sensation of that I'm doing the movement correctly. That was a part of it.
I really love the idea of like switching bodies or entering other people's avatars, because one of my favorite studies ever that's been done sort of on this has been, I don't know if you've read this one, but like on the virtual Freud, where you're sort of sitting like, the therapy chairs, sitting opposite Dr. Sigmund Freud. And after he has sort of asked you to tell you about your problems and you've done this, then you're suddenly switching chairs and listening to this representation. From outside, and just being able to see yourself from outside or see someone else from the inside. That's just, it's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. We have multiple levels of agency in our brain, right? There's 86 billion of these neurons out there in our brain. And they're really forming coalitions. And it's like a whole city inside of us. And there's a lot of interesting research about that. There's this Freud experiment. They also did a similar thing with a child. So you meet a crying child and you talk to the child and then you embody the child and listen to your soothing words to that child. So you learn to self-soothe yourself by actually helping someone else. And that's really interesting to notice how sometimes we are able to help other people better than we can help ourselves.
Right, exactly. It's so much easier to show compassion for others, often at least, than ourselves. So
sometimes the judgmental part of us, right? We hear our internal parents when it comes to us, sometimes more than we hear it when it comes to other people. And then really depends on your parents, but a lot of parents I think tend to be over judgmental.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. We are actually currently, I will plug it in, we're still crowdfunding. So actually, if any potential investors or just we have a minimal investment of $100 to actually own part of what we're building.
Oh, that's cool.
Because our whole idea is really align. I don't know. Have you seen the Social Dilemma on Netflix lately?
No.
Yeah, I recommend it. There's some over exaggerations when it comes to like how they show AIs and stuff, but it's showing a very real problem around companies that are not aligned to their users because they're just trying to maximize screen time because of this advertising model. And we're trying to do something else in many ways. I just wrote a long Medium article I can send you how we're trying to fix these issues. But a big part of it is getting the investors to be the users, right? If whatever you're using, you are actually the owner of, the alignment is there systematically by default.
Yeah.
So we're very much hoping that people that love VR, that love AR, will join us and invest in helping us build a platform that lets people explore these type of embodiment and creativity and connection.
Yeah, that's great. I like the idea of having investors that are, more than just, actually engaged in it. That's really interesting. But there is an application now, Miu, or what did you call it?
It's called Miu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people can
we're out there
download this and try it out.
They can download it. It's free. They can try it out. What we just came out with is Miu AR.
Yeah.
So we are, as far as I know, the first application that lets you from VR. I don't know how many of your friends have VR. Let's be real about this.
Yeah,
it's growing, but
it's growing, and it's kind of, I work with it, so I'm not the right person to ask, but of course, from my childhood friends, no one.
Yeah, no one, exactly, right? Your family, your childhood friends. And let's say you want to actually connect to them and play things with them when you're in VR. So we created a Miu AR version, so you can now go into VR, blow your kisses, or make a dance for your friends, and they can actually download it in an AR version on their phone that's still interactable. They can still run around their space and catch the kisses that you sent them and actually make a message for you. They need to put their phone down, make a little dance, and send it into virtual reality where you can then receive it. So we're trying to bridge these gaps between mobile AR that is much more accessible still to VR to create interactions and an ability to communicate with your friends.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think there is still this need to, while of course this will be become a lot more people into VR with without going into that necessarily with the Quest 2 and so on. But while this is still not the case, we need to be able to experiment and actually have people in these things. So having, like even VR chat has, right? You don't need necessarily equipment to go into it. Of course, course it helps when we're able to, communicate more in this way, and it's way better. But getting data from people,
the ecosystem grows. Many people in VR chat are on desktops, right?
Yeah.
But desktops for me are still the 2D old school thing that I'm trying to move out of because I want us to connect to our bodies. And AR is somewhere in between. You are going to be holding your phone when you receive these messages, but you're going to be dancing around the space and moving with your body while you're holding the phone. You're going to be, while you're creating, you're going to be putting down your phone and dancing in space. And seeing yourself on a 2D screen, but it still gives you feedback, similar to the video filters we'll see on Snapchat. But this is actually 3D, so you're able to create these 3D representations and share them, not just stay in video.
Yeah, and once you sort of have that application going, when AR glasses is coming, and it's really looking like it's quite soon.
Exactly.
Then you can just port it over and already have some experience with it. So that can be really fascinating. Exactly.
Once we go into AR glasses, I think it's going to be very interesting. You will be able to represent yourself to your friends however you want at any time. Right? The way we're communicating now, I'll be able to see you as your represented self that day, that time. And I think, it really is up to us, the creators, to make this world a healthy world. Because if we start like causing more body dysmorphia by constantly being in these like cute, sexy little avatars, we're gonna get issues when we take off the AR glasses. But if we play with this in order to explore our creativity and show our internal worlds, then I think we're going to get massive benefits. We're going to stop looking at each other as a physiological, biological creature of race and color and height and size, and we're going to start understanding the complexity of what's going inside of each other, the emotional state that the other person's in. Our bandwidth can grow so much more if we start using this physiological data to actually communicate deeper parts of what's going on inside of us.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking back to when I first started briefly talking with you, that I think we talked briefly like about McKenna, and there is this essay that he wrote, which you of course knew because you had made something based off of it, but in which he's sort of has this vision for communicating in VR, which your company sort of is radiating this of sort of becoming what you want to create instead of sort of having something inside you that you're saying outside. So sort of
blurring the state of self and other.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Because again, from this neuroscience perspective, it's just statistical correlation.
Yes.
I'm getting statistical correlations coming from my eyes and coming from my proprioception. Now, what if I start mixing it up and getting your statistical correlations?
Yes.
We really can actually blur our embodiment and become a structure that is different. And I am very, very curious and very much pushing towards that type of future. And it's been in, I think, sci-fi. I'm an Asimov kid with the whole like Foundation series. Are we going to merge into this cognitive state that is beyond just self or not? And I am very interested in playing in that space and finding healthy ways to do that. How can I let go of my agency consentfully, give it to someone, and then get it back, right? And you see a lot of that also in the kink space. There's a lot, like this is something that humans crave. I think this is the basic of all religion.
Yeah, it's true.
When you go to church and you pray to your God, and there's a high-level priest that takes away your agency, and you're now the small creature that the priest tells you what to do, and tells you it's going to be okay. God wants you to do X, Y, Z. So something in our brain craves that because it's simpler. We don't need to model this whole complexity of the world. We can let somebody else do it for us.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's okay to acknowledge that and play with that in ways that might be healthier than most religions.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. There is definitely this need to, in some way or another, get out of our skin and to let go, just not feel that we're carrying ourselves around like some sort of responsibility all the time. There is great potential in that.
Yeah, it can be very healing, right? The whole Zen of like be one with your environment. What it's actually doing from the brain perspective is, again, statistical correlations. It's like not feeling all this physiological data that's coming in, and it's very, very noisy. You're just calming all of that and putting it all into a box, a very simple box of oneness. And letting that experience be what is going on in your brain. And I think, it's been, proven to really have very strong mental benefits for people that do a lot of meditation and can just take that space for a little bit and then come back. Because there is also the danger of the opposite. Like it can be, I think, you see a lot of and it's a balance, and everybody finds their own. But for me, like a lot of the monks that really move away from life into just this meditation space, it's not sustainable if the whole world does that, right?
Yeah,
we need to work. We need to be part of life. So everybody, I think, can find their balance, basically.
Yeah, it's true. There is a greater challenge in that as well, because I mean, detachment. That is sort of, I mean, of course it's not easy, but the best is to have detachment while you're in it, like striving for full involvement, yet not to the point that it's choking you. So actually being in the world, but still sort of having the wheel loose on its axle. I think that can.
Yeah, and I think being able to play with that. Yeah. Like, okay, this is my relaxation and going into non-existent space or other agency space, versus this is where I am now full agent, creating the world I want to be in, and working hard.
Yeah. So this was a great conversation. It was really fascinating talking to you. Do you have anything you want to mention before we end this?
So, people can come to visit this room and explore it themselves. It's called Virtual Bites.
Cool.
Yeah, on VR chat. And also there's a whole video we didn't watch because the sound would not come through very well in VR, but you can put a link for that, or so it's a YouTube. And yeah, we're really, looking for people that are in these realms. We know they're out there. We're slowly growing a community around this. So definitely, if anybody wants to user test with us, we do live user testing almost every day, just playing around for maybe half an hour, exploring what the latest build that we put out there. To connect. We're a very small startup, and we're just trying to build these things with people. Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'll add the links you mentioned, and people can go here, and I'm sure people will like trying it out, and
Yeah.
All right, great meeting you, Sarah.
This was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Do a little curtsy.